could talk about divine timing. And what does it really mean when people talk about divine timing? And I think most people on this planet relate to life on their timing, where they want something and they want it now, and when it doesn't show up, maybe they get upset, maybe they throw a fit. But divine timing is all about the universe and the things that the whole universe flows in one, and everything happens in perfect alignment with everything else in the universe. That divine timing is the awareness that everyone on this planet, everyone on every planet are all interconnected, and the things that happen to one person affect the whole. And so things flow to bring the greatest good and healing to the whole. And sometimes that's going to be hardship, loss, struggle, because if I look back on my life, or if you look at your life, the things that were the most hard, created the most struggle in my life, created the greatest, were the moments of the greatest trauma and abuse and neglect, were also the moments that as I healed them, gave me greater purpose of what I would like to impact, heal, and affect on this planet. My traumas and my abuse that I survived growing up gave me direction of what I would like to help heal, what I would like to help serve in others. Like for example, for me, is one of the things I always felt really excluded. I always felt like an outsider in high school, more so in high school. I always felt like an outsider. I always felt excluded. I didn't ever feel like people really made an effort to try and connect with me. And I felt just kind of alone in silence and in pain. And so something that I do, and it's usually not even something that I'm aware of, it's just something that I now lead with in my life, is trying to include people. When I see someone sitting alone who feels like they're looking lonely, or maybe looks like they're alone but too scared to go up and talk to anyone, I go up and I talk to them, and I ask them how their day's doing, and I help them feel connected when they might be feeling a little disconnected from the group. And so our pain, our trauma, our hurt is actually what gives us purpose. It's what drives our service to help others. And and the things that were the most hard to go through are often what shape us into our most loving, mature, and responsible versions of ourselves. And when people are going through things that are similar, we go, I get you, I hear you. And we listen and support them because we understand what it's like to go through that. And if we had never gone through that, we might have a little less compassion in those moments. And so everything happens to you to help shape you, help shape the world, help shape the collective into the best versions of themselves. And humanity is at a point where bad things still need to happen, where trauma and tragedy and incidents of large amount of loss on the planet, whether that's in wars or in shootings or all sorts of things, need to happen in order to help bring people together, in order to show people where their direction, where their focus, where they should strive to start to serve, help heal, and help change about the society, about culture, where more resources need to put in to help people heal from maybe mental health or trauma. And so everything is happening the hard things happen, one, to inspire service in people, to bring people together, to help people start to reach out and connect with people more often, and to also happens to help people have more compassion and love and inspire people of directions they can move to start to help heal the planet. And so everything flows into divine timing. And if you look at your life, the times when there's hardship and there's struggle will actually be the moments that help transform you and change you most into the person you'd want to become, into the person you imagine becoming, or the person that's even so great that you couldn't even imagine becoming that person. And I know for me, while I'm still healing and still a human being and make mistakes, that like if you had shown the version of me in high school who I am in this moment, I think the version in high school might be rather impressed and might be rather blown away of how much I've healed and transformed and changed. And so our hardship, our struggle is what shapes us, and it's all part of divine timing, and everything's flowing to bring the greatest healing and resolution to the whole. And sometimes that's going to be tragedy, sometimes that's going to be loss, sometimes that's going to be unfortunate things happening, and other times it's going to be incredible levels of abundance, prosperity, and whatever is going to serve you, serve the people you're connected to the most when that thing comes into your life. And I thought I could just share some examples from my life of divine timing. And also one thing I should bring up is that divine timing is one part the universe, and the universe being aware of everything flowing and being aware of when it would be good for something to flow into your life. And it's also one part the steps you take towards something. So let's say you want to be a musician, you want to like move, you want to call in a soulmate, you want to lose weight. If you want to be a musician, you most likely will not become a successful professional musician if you never practice. And so it's one part when it would be a good time for it to come into your life, but that time can be accelerated, sped up, or slowed down by your dedication and your willingness to your craft. And some things are going to take, like I was listening to some, like, those masterclass ads on YouTube. And this guy talked about that he was a professional writer and had written successful books, and he wrote every day for 15 years before his first book was published. And so sometimes, no matter how much dedication and effort you put into something, it might still take a really long time. And the attachment isn't to, I do this because of the outcome. I do this because I enjoy it. And so we all need to think about, what do I enjoy doing, what I enjoy spending time with doing, and whether I'm successful at this, whether I'm not, maybe I'm never successful at this, like as a profession, or maybe it takes a really long time for me to be successful in this as a profession. Am I willing to take that journey? And you will find that it was the journey itself that made you into the most incredible version. It wasn't the actually getting the title of, I have a book published, I'm a professional writer now. Which in the universe is always more concerned of who you are as a person, less about what you do or don't have in your life. And so the question with divine timing is, am I willing to take the journey for who I will become as a person, not for the outcome? And can I be aware of the things that happen in my life happen to make me into a better person, not because I enjoyed them, not because God was mad at me, not because God was trying to punish me, or not because of something I did in a past life. It happened because the universe said, if this happens in this person's life, they will become a better version of themselves, and the level of love and kindness and appreciation they'll share with the people around them after this event will make this event worth it. And it's one of the reasons why challenging things happen. And just to finish out the example, the same thing is with, like, losing weight, or I'm blanking on the second example. I can't remember. But with losing weight, like I'm someone who like I lost like 40 pounds and like at one point in my life, or like, yeah, it was like 30 to 40 pounds. And it's something that I worked at every day for for months. Like I started out and I was lifting like 4 times a week and for like an hour, and I was trying to eat less. And that worked a little. I lost like maybe 5 pounds, I don't know, 7, 8 pounds. And I kind of did that for like a solid 2 to 3 months. And then my body was starting to feel stronger, and I was curious, what happened if I pushed it? What happens instead of working out 4 times, or near the end of those 3 months, I was probably doing more 5 times? What if I did 6 days a week? And what if instead of just working out for an hour, I worked out for around 2-ish hours in the gym, lifting weights? And what I found trying that out of doing 6 days a week for 2 hours is that my metabolism picked up so much and I was burning so many calories from lifting for that long that it actually didn't matter what I ate at that near like and I was still losing weight. I would have to eat like 4 meals a day, and I and I was putting on muscle and I was burning fat, and and it was my effort in putting the time to work out for long periods of time helped me lose all the weight and build muscle. And just a little tip is like, look, if you look at areas of your body where you hold more fat, like for me, I was holding a lot of weight in my torso. And I said, if you look at people that do a lot of bench press, they almost have usually the people that do a lot of bench press, they might have really big chests with barely any fat on it, while their belly might hold a lot more muscle. And I thought, what if I worked out my core just as much as someone who is really into bench press? And that was the other little tip of like, it helped me burn all the fat that I was trying to lose at that time. and it was something that took effort. I wasn't going to get there without putting effort, which I think is like what I was trying to hit on with divine timing, is you can accelerate. And even with effort, it's still, I dropped from like it was like 30 pounds, but it was like mostly, I put on a lot of muscle. So I'm going to say it's around 40, toot my horn a little bit, but I went from 175-ish to 145. And to get to that weight, it took from like September to, I'd say, around May or April of the next year to lose the weight. And so it takes time. Just because you take steps towards something doesn't mean it's going to happen instantaneously. And like that was a big thing I learned from losing weight, is like, it's a journey. And you're like, maybe will lose a pound or two like every week, but that it will feel like nothing. And then all of a sudden, like if you just give it the time, like a month or two down the road, you'll be able to see changes, and you'll be like, oh, all that work has been paying off. But trying to compare week to week to each other, you won't really be able to see the difference, at least from my experience. And the slower you go, the easier time you will have through that change, which is what I wanted to talk about originally with divine timing, and to give an example, because I've had some moments that have been incredibly synchronistic. And so I thought I'd share them just as an example of divine timing. So the first example is about a year and a half ago. I was in Colorado, and me, my sister, my step siblings, and one of their boyfriends are walking down this mountain trail after doing this big like incline. It's called like Manitou's Peak, I think. It's like a 3,000 step incline. So we're walking down the mountain, just doing like switchbacks down, and there's people running past us, like running down the mountain. And in my head, I go, oh, that looks really fun. And I decided to start running with the people running past us, and my sister and the step siblings stay behind and keep on, or they keep on walking. And I'm sprinting down these switchbacks down this mountain, and I get tired and I take a break, and then I start sprinting again. And at one point, I'm going pretty much full speed down a mountain, down this mountain trail, and my foot strikes gravel, and it slides out from under me, and me running full speed downhill, I my knee, I like lose my balance and nosedive like straight into this rock in front of me, landing right on my knee. And in in that moment, I was in quite a bit of shock. And I landed perfectly where I missed both parts. I landed below my kneecap and above my tibia, which if I had hit either of those, I for sure would have shattered either one of them from how fast I was running. And in that moment, though, it was a synchronistic moment of divine timing. And eventually, my sister and step siblings, as I like get up, eventually take a break, like feel the pain in my knee, feel how maybe that was not the best choice to be making, as there was like not a lot of tread on my shoes, and all like the hindsight's so 2020. And then eventually I get up and I keep on hobbling down the mountain, and I'm able to put some weight on the knee. And my siblings, my sister and my step siblings and their boyfriend eventually catch up to me, and we all finish the trail together. And what I heard in my head at that moment was, whether you sprint towards something or take your time, you always get there when you're meant to get there, which felt like divine guidance in that moment, because up until that point, I was living with my parents and was feeling really ready to not live with my parents anymore, and was rushing towards not living with my parents without taking my time at all. And that moment was a big message of slowing down, and the guidance was heard, and I took it a little bit slower in my life. And even, okay, just a little aside from that, when I smashed my knee against that rock, I in that moment, I could feel one of my angels, move into my knee and help repair my knee a little bit. They didn't fully repair it, but they repaired it enough so that I could get down the mountain. And when I think about why didn't they just fully heal it, like I still am not really, my knee is better. I'd say it's around 80-ish%, but it's still not 100% a year and a half later. And I've done physical therapy and all the things, and aside from that, but when I asked myself why I could feel I could feel energy shifting, I could feel like it literally felt like it was being psychically operated on for like a good hour or 2 hours after the injury, while also during like the initial impact and injury too. Why didn't they just fully heal it? And what I've learned is from the injury is that the injury has taught me to slow down quite a lot, and that there's times when my knees get sore, or when I need to take a break and rest it, or I'm really into visualization, so I'll do a visualization that will make it feel better, or Reiki or acupuncture. And it's really taught me to flow with life and flow in time, and to, if my body has aches and pains, instead of pushing past it, to listen to it. And that's been a huge lesson with my knee injury that I would not have learned if my angels had healed it miraculously right after the injury happened. And so when we look at our life of the struggles we are going through, is there gifts in the struggles? Is there things that you can pull from the struggle of, this thing that's happening in my life is teaching me this? Maybe it's teaching me to be more gentle with myself. Maybe it's teaching me how to rest. Maybe it's teaching me how to set better boundaries, be clearer in communication, how to forgive, whatever. Maybe it's teaching me how to be more patient and tolerant. And so everything in our life is happening as a reason. And it's almost like the heat in the oven, and we're the cookie, and every little heat ray the oven emits is helping shape that cookie into the most delicious cookie from a ball of dough. Which is something, if you ever listen to Matt Kahn, he uses that example a lot too. But and another, I thought I could maybe give one or two more examples of divine timing. And so another example in my life is in high school. I was rather struggling, and I only really talked to or was connected to this one friend group, which was a friend group I had in middle school that kind of, then we all went through high school together too. And I was in this friend group. They were from when I was friends with them, they were all sober, and they were, and in high school, they were the only people I really talked to. I was rather shut down. I was rather struggling with my parents. They got a divorce, and it was just a rather hard time for me. And so I didn't really feel safe to connect with anyone else other than this friend group that I had known before my parents divorced. And in the friend group, there was one of the friends in that group who we were really close in middle school, and then in high school, right as we were both going into high school, both our parents divorced. And that friend, while is probably has some good qualities, and I don't really communicate with them anymore, but they're not bad. Everyone has good and bad qualities, but that friend handled that divorce by taking a lot of the anger and aggression they felt towards that divorce and projecting it onto me. And usually we dislike or hate the people that were the most like. And my friend group just kind of ignored it. And the only way I knew how to stand up for myself, or to essentially fight back, was to give it back to them. And so it created a lot of friction and tension between us, and probably also a little bit more in that friend group as well. And in my junior year, it all kind of reached to a head of I finally had enough with all the shit I had taken from this person. And in a group chat with all our other friends in it, I texted this person, "Hey, you've been a dick to me ever since your parents have gotten a divorce." And in that moment, all my friends unfriended me, and which was devastating at the time, and also was devastating because I didn't have any other friends other than that. They were literally the only people I talked to. And so junior and senior year, I pretty much just hung out with myself in high school. But in that moment, the universe said, you will be in this relationship dynamic with those friends until you are willing to be fully honest. In that moment, I was fully honest, and it freed me from the toxic dynamic of with that person, and really with the whole friend group of them ignoring it. And also, we were high school boys, and they weren't always the most kind either. So in hindsight, it was an absolute blessing, because after me already struggling, already trying to work through a pornography addiction, and already dealing with a lot of stuff that was happening at home, and anything else would have been way too much. And as right after that friend group unfriended me, I found out a year or two later, some of them tried to say they were sorry. We were all hanging out one of my friend's house, and I realized that they all got super into marijuana and alcohol right after they unfriended me. And while there's no judgment, and we all have a right to our own choices, if I had been using marijuana or alcohol regularly during that time in high school, I might have not made it out, and I might have been struggling a lot more than than even I was at that moment, which was I was struggling really hard. And so at the end, I felt so great, while in the moment it sucked. And I as a person, have a really hard time letting go of people as it is, uh, afterwards I realized it was such a gift and it was such a blessing that I did not end up getting. And in college, like, I explored alcohol and weed a little. It's not something I currently use at all, but uh, in that moment in high school, it was like the lowest time in my life. And I think if there had been any other type of substances or pressure added onto it, it might have become like unbearable. So in that end, it became a gift and a blessing, and it's something I wanted to share on divine timing. And I guess we'll go for a third example. The last example is uh, in June of I was in June last year. I was working at this job, Stretch Lab, and it was a job that I was really ready to leave. A job that, while Stretch Labs is great and it really does help people, there are certain parts of the job, like around sales and stuff, that felt kind of icky to me. And it was something that I needed the income. I liked working with people one on one, and I liked being able to serve and help people in that way. And so it was really hard for me to be like, I no longer want to do this job, because I didn't know what else of job I would do. And also, I'm still kind of looking for a job. So it's been a little tough. But so in that, and also up until June, from February on, I had like really been praying for a greater friendship, greater community. At Stretch Lab, I was working all evenings and weekends, and it made it very hard. And on the weekend evenings, I wasn't working at Stretch Lab. I was teaching yoga classes, and it made it very hard to meet anyone my age. And at Stretch Lab, I was stretching someone, and I asked them to press a little harder, and they really went for it, and they pressed a little too hard, which no fault on their own. Like, that, something that happens, sometimes we misgauge things. And they pressed a little too hard, and I ended up tearing my shoulder and my rotator cuff. And it's something that is still healing now. But and I had to leave my job at Stretch Lab. But me leaving the job, then right after that, I started attending ecstatic dance. And ecstatic dance is something that I found beautiful community and beautiful friendship in, and has been such a blessing in my life, and was a complete answer of my prayer of wanting to leave, but not being really feeling capable of leaving, or really knowing what the next step is, which besides you making YouTube videos, I still don't really know what the next step is. And also, uh, um, the wanting greater community, and it was answered to both of those prayers. And so everything flows in divine timing, and it's going to take time. And sometimes we're going to, and even sometimes it's going to take time, and sometimes we're even going to stay in relationships longer than we know we should have. And the universe will sometimes, like for me in the high school dynamic, I really probably should have stopped hanging out with them like my freshman year. Like in hindsight, the moment that that one friend started to be really shitty, and me enduring that like toxicity, and maybe you could even use the word abuse, or bully, like kind of bullying, was, now that I'm out of it, I am incredibly more discerning of what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not willing to tolerate. And I also am and I would also say I'm just a stronger person going through that. And it doesn't mean we should stay in toxic or abusive environments, but if we stayed in an environment for too long and are looking back regretting it does add a little bit strength. It does add some strength to you as you heal from it. And it doesn't mean we stay in abusive environments. If we're in abusive environments, the best choice is always to remove ourselves. But the 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 time spent in abuse and in toxicity is always serving us. And the moment that we've this is kind of hard, the moment that experience no longer serves us, and just because we think just because it's happening, if it's abusive or toxic, if it's abusive, it's not serving you, and you can always remove yourself. But the moment you are willing to speak up for yourself, the moment you are willing to tell the truth, at least in my experience, or the universe will move you beyond the experience. Sometimes if you stayed way too long, and in Stretch Lab, in that friend group, I had stayed way too long, and so the universe gave me a little bit of a nudge, which I'm very grateful for. And maybe the universe doesn't always give us a nudge, and for each person it's going to be different, and for each person we have to be aware of, if we're in jobs, if we're in friendships that really aren't filling us up or supporting ourselves, can we please leave them? Can we please move beyond them? Because we don't always need to wait for a nudge from the universe, or suffer in those jobs or in those friendships, if we have the power to leave them on our own. So I think that would be the message I would just leave you with. But divine timing, it's one step, those steps you're willing to take, and another step of when it actually serves the universe for things to happen. So thank you for listening. I love each and every one of you, and I'm grateful for your attention, your focus, and your interest. Bye.